I'm going to,
I'm not gonna.
I'm going to delete it right out of here. That's what I did.
They will still call us. Send you. Can send a picture. They won't send me the picture. But I mean.
I figured sit up here. So
I'm like looking, I was like,
Not
we're
even
gonna
sure
go.
how much stuff you're gonna get. So. But it's just.
I don't think anybody should be able to get away.
Right or wrong? She
I
didn't.
saw the road.
You didn't. Hard.
All right, we're good. There's nobody on either one of them right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard that he wasn't.
How's Luann?
Oh, good, how are you?
You're looking good as always.
Thank you, you too.
Why, thank you. Try to pick a day up as much as I can.
Some days I really get.
You need it, right?
Committee meeting. Someone share. Number one, operational updates.
Still down, two guys on the road, we're out on 207C. The two guys are back in the jail like duty. Still have 4 guys off on 207C. So guys are working on
Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to number 2, proclamation. Sheriff's Week. Number 18 through the 24th. Questions on that one? Thank you. Supervisor Kale makes a motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Number 3, grant application and acceptance for the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee.
So yearly traffic safety grant we get. A lot of it's primarily on 28 due to the traffic speeds.
Okay. Supervisor Granger makes the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 4, authorize chairman to accept the Onondaga County bid award.
Yeah, this one's gonna change a little. Get a call from Ford this morning that they 22 wasn't in production, they canceled it. All our minor 22s are gonna be built. We tried adding this one on a couple weeks ago, and Amy Bliss got rear-ended and the car was totaled on Saltville Road. They will take a bid for a 23 on the piggyback on a Daga bid. The price on the 23s, Ford is raising the price about $8,000.
Okay.
The price on this one's gonna be $43,430. And I talked to Niner this morning and they're still gonna cover the whole thing, so.
Supervisor Roberts makes the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
This year, it'll be done by the end of the year.
Their production dates, they're not, I might have won the next round. I don't even look forward to it.
Enough cars to cover it, you know.
Yeah, we're all right, should have some come in this month, some next month, pretty much change over what we had this year. And then we're just waiting on a couple of the speed motors that got totaled out, now we can list it.
Okay, any questions on that one? Move on to disposition of fixed assets. These are vehicles.
That Taurus is Amy's, I moved it from where it was.
Correct. These are just 2 of the ones that we replaced.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, 3.
2 we replaced and 1 is the total out there.
Someone like to make a motion for this one?
I'll move.
Supervisor Burke makes a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 6, appropriation.
numbers on this one are gonna change. The top line should be 43,430. Insurance recovery is gonna be 45,955. Minus the deductible, grand total is gonna be 45,455.
So the changeover expenses stay the same,
Correct.
and then $500 with any funds available, that's the deductible.
Correct.
And they are all even numbers, there's no change in both
Even numbers on, no,
of the dollars.
no, there wasn't. a change.
Wait, what's your? Thank you. Any questions? I would like to make the motion for this one. Supervisor Carroll makes the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried.
I don't think it was out. Okay, sure.
Okay, number 7, discussion patrol vehicles.
I was hoping to take one out of the budget for next year, seeing as we're replacing an 18 now. But with the price increase of $2,000. Just gonna leave the budget alone. Get 4 cars instead of 5.
I was thinking that, even at highway, we but once every 4 years. I think now we're gonna have to run 5 years just because of cost of them. Same way with your vehicles,
Okay, any questions on that? Move on to number 8, operational updates for the county jail.
So the staff we have downstairs, everything's going pretty well. We've got 1 part-timer on board. Hopefully we start getting some guys back up now soon.
Okay, number 9, amendment resolution number 21-563 for Black Creek Integrated System Corporation.
Hard drive went down on the Black Creek system, which took our electronic logs and everything offline. And Mike's been battling with Black Creek to get it back up, and Bill Sykes is helping us put in a backup hard drive. So we can hopefully stay running if something goes down next time.
Any questions on this one? Someone wants to make a motion for this one? Supervisor Granger makes the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, move on to the jail kitchen, number 10, amend FYI contract.
This just came in and did an inspection, and there was something they had to change out, so the price went up for the replacement.
Supervisor makes the motion, I didn't think so. We'll move on to 911, rank acceptance for the New York State Division of Homeland Security Emergency Services.
This is typically the one we use for salaries. Number 11.
And number 12, I think.
Number 12 is the one we get every year, every 2 years.
Any questions on them? Someone like to.
I'll do 11 and 12.
Supervisor Brooke makes the motion for number 11 and 12, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. And number 13, amend resolution for Doreen Jenkins.
This is where our Kelly Road Tower is. We're moving slightly to the east and putting up a bigger tower up there. So I'm going to agreement with the landowner.
Questions on that one? Someone like to make the motion? Supervisor Burway makes the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried.
How long do we lease like this?
We have the one on Kelly Road, we're on a lease on the 49 tower on golf course. And the rest, lease on the White Tower.
We got 3 of our own.
Any other questions for the sheriff?
The only thing else I have for you is, I got a call yesterday from Perry PD. Many schools implementing a new program for the kids for school safety called the Sandy Hook Promise. They all the kids and teachers are gonna have an app on their phone, and if they see something or hear something, somebody sent them a text that they think might be something we need to let the authorities know on. And send this into the Sandy Hook Promise, and then they'll send it to the administrators, and then they'll send it to the sheriff's department, who will be, on our end, it's gonna be here every 24 hours online for this. It's gonna take a little bit of training for the dispatchers. The problem with the training is they only do it during the day. So the night shift, they'd have to either do it online from home and then do it. Then do us, we're gonna have a little bit of training costs involved. Speaking with the superintendent and Perry, he also thinks Warsaw's gonna get on board with this too. He said the hard part is now, so there's a couple different companies out there doing this, like that, is using a different one, so. It's just something we're gonna be involved with, I just want to let you know about it, yeah. Morning about our training budget, yeah. It's cool safety, we're all about it, so. So we're kind of doing it.
Is the school paying or buying a program?
It's a free app.
Free app.
It's a free app from what they tell me. The only cost is gonna be training somebody, training the dispatcher.
Be able to recognize and answer it and whatnot.
Correct. I guess you have to be trained because they'll call us to tell us about it, or for them to send you whatever was anonymously we sent to them. You have to get into the app so they can send it to you. It's basically training inside.
Questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's don't forget about the jail tour.
Yes,
Jail tour revenues.
We'll report it.
all right. Thanks, Mark. Thanks. Welcome, Brian. Okay, start with number 1, overnight travel authorization. Division of Homeland Security. 4th annual volunteer firefighters memorial ceremony.
But I said, it's been covered by the association.
Question on that. So let's
I think, you know, Bill should go as the president of the coordinators association or something, so he should go.
Supervisor Brick makes the motion, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Number 2, FYI, memorandum of understanding.
Well, this is the iPod system. That's a system that allows us to send out information out for public safety events that you would cell phones, TVs, radio stations, so it's just for that 3-year agreement with FEMA.
Questions on that? Okay, number 3, grant application and acceptance award. This is for the New York State Division of Office of Homeland Security Emergency Services.
It's for the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Grant. So this came out of an executive order following the Buffalo mass shooting event that the governor signed. What this requires is every county has to law a domestic terrorism prevention plan. So there's quite a few components to that plan. There's a few other things that entails. We have to establish a threat assessment. So we're in the process of that right now, working with the sheriff, before he drives out. We're gonna have a kickoff meeting in a couple of weeks, so the schools will be on board with that. We're go through that process. So this is a grant application, it's for 2 years. They intend that this is going to be funded after the 2 years. It is pretty high on the governor's list. And I've heard mention that after 2 of the recent events, one in Chicago County, one down the state, which they referenced to this. So it's something the state's taking seriously. So we're going to be working through the remainder requirements of that executive order.
Questions on that one?
I move that.
Supervisor Roberts makes a motion. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Number 4, professional service contract. Boone County bid award for emergency management assistance.
So what this is, part of that executive order, we have to develop a plan, which is due by the end of the year. And looking at that and what that's going to entail, we'll collect that information, get it back, put that together. I just really don't see any way that we're going to do that ourselves. So I reached out to the Tetra Tech, Boone County, and just gone through this with them, so we can back off of that grant award. So we have all that information back from them, so we're set to move forward with that. We're all had that done before, so happy with that executive order.
Number 5 is the appropriation for that.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on that? Would like a motion for number 4 and 5. Supervisor Granger makes a motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Number 6, operational update. Number 1, EMS.
Just update on that, last month when I was out, somebody also did brought back on the Monroe County proposal there. So since that, we've gone through the Livingston County budget, 2 or 3 year budget that we reviewed, as well as Niagara County's budget, just to see if there's any items we weren't missing. There's a few minor things here and there. So just on that, she's adjusted those numbers. We're fairly confident with those numbers on where our budget comes in. So, what I'd like to do is come back to the committee of the whole in September, present that in comparison to the Monroe County one, pros and cons, the unknowns, the uncertainties, that type of stuff, so that we can make a decision on which direction we're going to move forward. For budget reasons, and also so we can figure out when the resources here to help.
So when you do that, can you bring Monroe medicating with you? So we can ask them why they want $775,000.
That's what they come.
Because there's stories everywhere, so I want the facts, and I want to talk to them personally and ask them why they're asking for that much more.
I can give you facts. Last night, there was no ALS available here, Livingston or Genesee County. They called Pike to go to Castile for a call because they have an ALS person. And then before Pike got back, they called and wanted to know if they'd assist Warsaw at a call. And then at 12:30, they called Perry to come to Warsaw to take a call. When they got here, the lady says, "Get the hell out of my house." She says, "It took you too long to get here." So we need to do something.
Well, we got issues all over the place, but
That was just last night.
I know, but I'm still quite concerned that we're not gonna be able to run an ambulance service ourselves at 0-11. It's gonna cost a lot of money.
No,
But you know it yourself.
It's a matter of public safety.
You guys are, just the town of Perry, running $100,000 a year for you, and you guys can't cover all the calls either. And Medicaid's been doing this for 40 years. Monroe's been doing it for 40 years. They got a contract with the state over in Attica. We've been picking up their prison contracts.
That's why we need to have a control on it.
And I will say one thing, it's built right into the presentation, that there will be no perfect system. I'm not gonna say very lie and tell you that we'll make 100% calls, it's impossible, especially those that do it. We had a day last week, Monroe had 2 resources up, they couldn't keep up with the call volume. Obviously struggling putting up with ambulances, and then got days where there's still calls going on. It's not a black, or, it's not black and white where what the call volume is going to be today. So it is what it is. We try to get it. What I can say when we've been working on through GIS is we're taking, she's finalizing it actually right now. A map where we're looking at the county, looking at the centers that we utilize But before it was kind of just using it off estimates, okay, how long is it gonna take to get to that firewall, things like that. So she'd be able to take that, put together in 5-minute increments to figure out where's our best locations. So that's stuff we try to do all the time, and use resources around, the east side, the west side of the county. It's so much easier to operate something on the east side than the west side, just because your hospital distribution on the west side makes it very tough to do. So we're looking at that stuff, trying to right size that. So that would be something where we're actually looking at that, right sizing that model. As we said, the region Monroe came back with that figure, what we asked them for, with the 24-hour ambulances and 16-hour BLS. Wasn't just my feeling, it was Bill's feeling, it was, talking with, the Monroe operations manager from Wyoming County, talking about hospital, what's going to be everyone's needs and what they thought was best. And even that, we know the free resources might not be enough, any given day. It's very hard to do that. But it's going to be that balancing act of what do we feel as a county, what do we feel is our responsibility to pick up the pieces and those calls that the volunteers can handle, and then how many resources do we want to throw at that, try to right size that cost for that patient care. And it's a tough thing. In Livingston County, they've done this for 12, 13 years. It took them about 9, 10 years to where they really got to where they're comfortable in that. Fortunately, the advantage we have is Livingston County's budget. We're able to look at that, we're able to look at their operation. 9 counties going through it right now. We just hired their operations person to respond to ambulances. So we've had a lot of discussions on what their implementation plan is, what we're going to do that, making sure that ours are matching up. Looking at their proposed budget that they have compared to ours, the advantage we had is we're able to pull some much better data than they are. So we're a little bit more comfortable with our numbers, especially like I said, we're comparing back to these things. We're a little bit more comfortable with those. I was surprised by the numbers. Again, their projections, we know how projections go with different things. There's a lot of variables that play. What's your patient going to have for insurance, things like that. But overall, I feel that the numbers are favorable for giving the operation. I feel it's, we're kind of at that mark right there where it's the right, a lot of resources versus, the cost. So try to meet those needs.
So, a couple of years ago, we talked about the fact of getting some more training for the current medical EMTs and stuff. And I don't know that we've seen there's been a lot more classes out there. And, like I said, I think you went a year ago, you can get 2 or 3 EMTs just run a course just to keep these people going, because it's going to cost us a fortune. And when we go to a paid ambulance service, you're going to have exactly what you got here in Warsaw. If you go to a countywide paid service, you're going to get the people, the volunteers that just say, well, they got it.
I don't think their proposal is a countywide paid service. Their proposal is just like ALS.
It's just a county operation.
Yeah.
And our last 2 classes have had really good attendance. The one person failed. I believe there was still one more than one not tested. The other one, unfortunately, the success rate hasn't been as good. There's still a few that need to test, but that whether that's the instructor, it's the students, it's a hard thing to say. But and they do get additional opportunities, so they can take it up to 3 times. So even if they fail the first time, they can go back. So we will be canvassing here soon to see about a class later this fall. There hasn't been a lot of talk coming out of the departments for needs, because I think we had a lot of new people that just came out through these last 2 classes running back.
Just my feeling, we got to keep as many volunteers going as possible, because ultimately it's going to be a big bill when it goes to a paid service. And
This whole system, it relies on volunteers. And if volunteers aren't in the mix, it will be very, very expensive.
Well,
So it's
it's
there to support them, it's not there to take over. And, certain departments that are dropping very few calls, which is great, and that continues. But you can also look at reality, and reality is, you see the numbers going down all the time. Just one department, we just lost 2 EMTs here a month ago that decided not to recertify their parents. So you see that happening throughout. Genesee County just released a report it's a great report to read, whether it's fire service or, elected officials, highlights a number of things. Unfortunately, there's a number of things that we're doing already that we're highlighting Jefferson County should do. There's a number of things that probably every volunteer fire department across the country should be doing that are highlighted there that makes sense from a financial standpoint, response standpoint, things like that. But some of that change in fire service is very hard to do as well.
Any more discussion on that one? Move on to the July 28th tornado.
Just a quick recap on that. So at the end, we had about 29 structures with damage, about 1.1 million in damages. So New York State did come out, they did a small business loan administration survey just to see if we meet the thresholds. Unfortunately, we didn't meet the thresholds. There was some different information given from the state when the FEMA representatives came out there on what was qualified. We were able to work with a couple of the agricultural businesses to refer them to some possible areas of assistance on which they could pursue. But just a couple of things, noteworthy things that came out of that for advantages. During COVID, we started to work with a lot of our non-government partners. And one of those, and we had worked with them quite a bit in the past, community action, was really able to come in, they assist us with some tree removal of the property, elderly family, insurance in place, medical issues, everything. So they're able to go in there, get out their yard, things like that. But highlighting the importance of GIS really keeping it like this. What our GIS tech was able to do, she was able to quickly take the map I got from the weather service, overlay that parcel data, add that information in there, which really helps with accelerate that through the assessments, especially because the state or FEMA's changed the timelines on this, depending, what sort of public assistance we're looking at, 10-day, 30-day, periods to get that in. An event like this wasn't a huge deal to go through and collect those. If it went through a village, a lot more houses that would have been a lot more hardy on our part, but being able to incorporate that stuff on there has been extremely valuable, really highlighted one of those GIS things that we had that we did that we were able to do. So it's really good to see that we're able to do that stuff.
Did Christy Weedman tell me there's a calf or Highland cattle running around up there they hadn't found yet? She said that they're from somebody that.
Yeah, there was the barn on Chafee Road, they relocated a bunch of their animals all over it. One of them did get out.
Still wandering around.
There's one binary in Jerry Farm on ground. Well, they got almost, got a big hole where it must become buried. I don't know, they're gonna save some of the lumber or what. They have some pulled out to the side, most of it's in the hole.
Okay, anything else for Brian?
Usually ours are set.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, Don, you're next.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Okay, starting with number one, motion is support for July 2022.
Your permit activities went up a bit for July. For August too so far. There's a couple things I highlighted on the number of field inspections have increased again. And the fire safety inspections, which January, February is where we normally used to be with the hiring of our new full-time fire safety inspector. You can see the numbers have shot right up. And continues those numbers down, so we're getting that back, way back under control. And the number of the extra help, we're also able to get into some of the property maintenance violations too, so you can see we're up to a couple dozen of those already. There's some highlights on that.
Any questions on that one? Okay, we move on to Number two, municipal income statement.
I have a question, just, that's much of the numbers, but Don, the fire safety inspections, you inspect the buildings in the village or something.
No,
Is that only ones that you don't inspect?
correct. We've had some calls on some building or some building. I have to pass those on.
Thank you.
I did tell the mayor in the past, if he gets in a pinch, let us know how it's, if it's some public assistance deal that really needs to be done, and you can't find anybody, or if there's, a fire that's happening, the fire situation. We've been on 2 calls this week. There was a fire call and MBA in the self-storage facility next to Harding's furniture store in Attica. A car hit the front of the building, drove through a couple of the bays there, so caused some damage there. So we were out on that the other day. And there was a fire call a few days before that. There was another call last night in the village area, on Crane Ave with electrical meter issues, but they just pulled the meter and they were without power that night, so they're replacing the service now.
I guess I do have another question, because someone told me, I think they were inspector from another county. They mentioned that if a municipality can be audited and they will get fined if they don't have the annual inspections for commercial properties.
Yeah, for everything. So what happened when the Department of State changed the regulation in 2007, so they added on a few words, an area where we do fire safety inspections and the time frame that you're required to do those in. So it used to say annual, public assemblies must be done annually. All other buildings as you deem necessary. And then they added in, but not to exceed 3 years. So if it wasn't an assembly, every building that had to be done at least once every 3 years. So that doubled our workload. So we have 1,200 buildings minimum to go through every year. Some of those take a bit of time. Department of State also put in line with that you file this 26-page report every year annually for every single municipality you inspect. How many buildings, how many fire safety inspections, how many housing units you inspect, how many buildings to contain those housing units. And depending on how your report looks every year, that may shoot up red flags, and then you get called from the Department of State. They come and audit you when they find out what they would want you to do or what they feel necessary to make those corrections for you, or even pull the jurisdiction from you, and now they have control of it. Then you're out of it after that. But once the state takes over the time frame, then they're responsible to issue permits, plan reviews, inspections, fire safety, the whole 9 yards. And it's very time consuming. When you're going to schedule an inspection 10 days out. So you drill holes today for your pole barn, you might not get it for 10 days. You're going to sit on those holes until they come inspect it. So it really slows things down a bit when it gets that level. So they don't want to take the jurisdictions over. They don't need the extra work, not hire more people to fill those needs. There are a couple of jurisdictions they did take over. There's some down in the southern tier they took over. They still have jurisdiction of those now. It's been very problematic for that municipality to deal with, but until they get somebody in there that the Department of State feels confident in that what they're doing is right, they'll give it back. So that's where they're at. But yes, the audit thing is completely true.
Well, the other night that fire in Perry, Mike was there. Was he able to represent you at that?
Yep. Yeah, once he holds the title and he's employed by the municipality, he's going through all those training now. He's certified in the building safety inspector part already.
Yeah.
He's already completed 3 of his courses. He's on his 4th class now. He just finished his 4th class. He'll be taking his last 2 and then he'll have that full certification. Anybody that's hired by the municipality has 18 months to be certified. But in the meantime, day 1 of hire, they can fulfill the obligations that are needed to do the job. And depending on where we are, depending on where the call comes in the county, and I was in Buffalo that day, and he's at his house, so.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Yeah, so it worked out. We got to stay.
Gary was there to oversee.
Yeah. So So yeah, so we all work together, I mean, the fire chiefs and stuff, we all work together, you know, between Mike and Bill and Tony and I, we're all on the same page on that, we need to be aware of.
Okay, now we move on to the municipal statement.
If there's any questions on it, I mean, you can see what's left and the balance is there, which you'll see on page 3. Okay.
Number 3, property maintenance task force.
Yep, just FYI on the ones, these are just some of the bigger ones, I'll just keep giving you a little monthly update so you can see how these things progress along. I brought them up last month, but you know, these are those larger scale ones. We've had a little bit of progress since the first violations went out for the ones down in Genesee Falls and the Williams area, but they've had a call from some potential new building owner, which you know who that is. So, but he looks like he's very interested in jumping on board and starting to take care of that situation. The other one's on Route 28 up here in the town of Perry. That one's kind of a delay a little bit to some severe health concerns with the current building owner. I'm working with the family on that to see what we can do. I mean,
It's slowly deteriorating itself.
yeah, it'll be on the ground before we just pick it up, put it in the dumpster. It probably won't be much longer. Village Perry on Federal Street, there's an old building down there. There's actually 2 buildings down there. There's still an agri facility on Federal Street that we're looking to get cleaned up. And there's another building adjacent to it that partial roof collapse. We're currently moving to petition phase on that one. Working with the Village of Perry on that one to see if we're going to end up having to do either have this property turned over to the village and or clean up, or what we're going to do with it. So as soon as we get to court, that'll iron itself out. Okay.
Number 4, property maintenance and collection.
These are the ones that already had judgments filed against them on the property. We're just have to go through the foreclosure part of it in order to do the collections. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm working on that results positive. If it failed to do the collections, it's always, you know, turning the property over to the county and then just take care of whatever the whole, you know, put it back on tax, you know. Or, you know, put it up for sale.
Any questions on that? Okay, number 5, energy code changes proposed.
So the stuff I mentioned about the energy code changes and the rules and regulations that EPA and stuff is put in place. So some of the things that's evolving with the building code is there's more energy code training. A number of things are happening with the energy code. The documents that we're supposed to also obtain when plant reviews come in, that it's in effect now. There's 4 ways to prove energy code compliance with any structure being built. I have to have some people who are versed in looking those documents over. So that's where some of my zoning staff that I have trained under building code enforcement also are going to help us do some of that energy code compliance. So that we're doing the plan reviews that can focus on just the energy code compliance part of the review. The reviews are getting more complicated as the code keeps evolving, so I have to have some of the staff kind of specialize in those fields rather than just have one person trying to blanket the whole thing. So there's other jurisdictions that actually have, you know, plumbing specialists, electric specialists, fire service specialization, energy code specialized, and literally the plan review goes around the department between half a dozen people before we can issue a permit based on what it is. We're not there, and we try to do it as little bit as possible. I don't have staff to do it quite like that. And I'm, you know, fortunate enough, we're, you know, versatile enough, we don't have, you know, over volume capacity. We're busy as it is, but we're not so inundated with it, we can't handle it so far, so we're okay with that. But just to give you an idea, that also brings up as the code evolves too, what we've done in the past is we've held some contractor training sessions in the county so that I can get all these contractors into a couple of meetings and tell them what is changing the next day. rather than visiting each site and seeing a new contractor and having to tell my story 300 times that year, I'd rather just have them come in. Let's have somebody sponsor a big meeting group. 6 lumber held one for us a few years back, and I had 180 contractors attend that for the new code changes. So there isn't any jurisdiction that the code official has a training section for contractor, but to me, I think it's beneficial. I did it specifically for the Amish group too. I went down to Benny's house. We had 3 counties of Amish at his barn, probably about 75 Amish people there. And I told them how they can work in New York State legally, especially when it came to discussing insurance. So I got them all on board, and they've done very well since then. They're very happy I did that, but nobody until after the meeting. But we got through it, it's been really good. So, since then, the relationship has done very well with what's going on, right? We want them to thrive in the county, their taxpayers.
Anything else, John?
I have one other thing. But I apologize for this, is the Lisa just gave it to me when I walked out the door, just so I could get it mentioned here. I have a past bill from Image Out Graphics for the lettering on one of our county cars. It's a past due bill. I'm trying to see what year it's from. Actually, it's from 2000. For $366. Yeah, from 2000. September 8th of 2000. So I'm thinking back to that date. That was during the time we were in some transition phase with transfer of my account clerk from somebody else.
2000?
2000.
20 years ago?
2 years, or 2020, I'm sorry.
Oh.
2020.
So
Sorry.
you're in Mount
Yeah. So I really.
Why, this is the first I've heard of it?
Yeah.
They haven't
They did,
sent us,
they invoiced us, but apparently it never got paid.
but they haven't been sending us a statement, or it's overdue, or
Overdue. They just,
we got one overdue statement.
yep. Yep. 2 years later.
We're gonna have to go back and say we actually paid them and they misapplied it.
We're at least looking to see if we did, just in case. But she hasn't found anything yet. It was in September, so, we're looking through that just to make sure nothing got missed. She hasn't found anything yet. I'll move it.
Supervisor Brick makes the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
That's it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we'll start with number 1, permission to increase Director Kibler's procurement card to $1,000.
We had $500, which we don't use it much, and then we had a new officer go over training 6 days in a hotel, so it did not decline the short amount. It makes sense going forward, because we're gonna probably have another meeting next year, that will be training, and 500 would. No. So,
With inflation, you gotta expect these things. How long has it been $500?
oh.
10 years?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd like to name Supervisor Granger makes the motion. All in favor?
I,
Opposed, carried. Okay, number 2, appropriation.
I don't know, we have somebody that wants to sell back time, and a new contract will sell up to 12 days, which I didn't budget for, and then we had somebody leave, but had to pay their arguments time. And then we were short, I think because of the contract, and so next we would have been short for salaries. 20,000 total.
Someone like to make the motion. Supervisor Baker makes a motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried.
So everybody knows that retro, the one-time stipend that we use ARPA funds for, we appropriated. Retro for the salary increases at 2.5% or whatever match we, did the union. That was all put into a contingency line, which completely went away when we had to use that money to pay for the Exxon. So we had like 1.3 million, or, we had money in that line. Because every department's gonna come and do that. But I wasn't gonna do it for every department because, things change throughout the year, they may need it, they may not need it. I didn't wanna do it, then have extra money in there, or have something else going on where they hired more people and there's more to do, so. Everyone's gonna have that, everyone's gonna be short in their budget unless they had like a lag or someone wasn't there for a few months, and then we wouldn't have to, so. You're gonna see a lot of that, but if you think about it, you won't see any months of it. We budgeted for that piece in the contingency, it's just not there right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. Okay. That's it? Okay, let's, any questions for Joan? While she's here. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. We're early. Reading there. Hey, Norm, how are you?
How's everybody? You're looking good. What you have in front of you, go ahead, I'm sorry, Sue.
Yeah, it was the permission for overnight travel that we gave you ahead of time, correct?
Right, and what happens is this meeting keeps getting rescheduled. This is an October meeting in Albany for the criminal justice section of the State Bar. It involves a continuing legal education component, an executive committee meeting, and an awards dinner where awards are being given to Judge Troutman, who is from Buffalo and is now on the Court of Appeals, and two other people that you don't know. Normally I give out the awards, but I'm not going to be at this meeting. That's why there's only one request to travel. Leah is the vice president of the criminal justice section. She will take over that section as a section chairman, which is pretty high up in State Bar as of next June. So she will be attending that meeting and the executive committee meeting and the CLE. We had the reason we asked for the early approval is that the hotel is limited in its space that's available, and we wanted to get the hotel room as quickly as possible to guarantee that. We have most of the costs involved, but we're waiting for the final registration fees, so that'll be coming in later. I haven't seen what my office prepared to send over to you, but it probably reflects that aspect of what's going on. So with that, I'm asking for approval for her to travel to this meeting. And as most of you know, our contacts with State Bar and with all of the other entities involved in public defense give us a great inside track on everything necessary to maintain a high level public defense office and also to find out where the money is. So it's an important aspect of what we do.
Hey, Norm, can you ask Sue to send me the Munis account number, please?
Sure.
Any questions on that? Supervisor Gill makes the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Anything else, Norm?
Yeah, the reason I'm not going, I'm sure you all want to know, is that I'll be in Barcelona on a cruise. So, okay, just want to be transparent about this. This was arranged 3 years ago.
Are you bragging?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, he has to go on a cruise.
Yeah, I have to be. I have to. I spent this money in 2020.
Poor thing.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, take care.
So sorry, everyone.
Right now, geez. Okay, we'll wait for the time that I spent on 2:15. That's not that bad, don't need it.
Somebody coming for that?
Yep. Yeah, we've got.
You don't have zoning, huh?
What's his name?
Process.
This.
Oh.
Bill thing.
Is there one? People are here, so. Yeah. Tree houses. We don't so.
They let them out.
Yeah, so.
Can't stop.
Must. Kids going a couple more. No.
So much pictures, because she always sends me, but that's like all these pictures.
So all that stuff.
Because she gave me the phone number. Since then, you give me the size number.
He's got a couple he's fixing up.
Yeah. Okay.
None I know of, but. I would never know. Well, we don't think it's put up. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna ask Dave about this too. What you think of this? It's gonna take a picture.
Well, yeah, I think it's a big thing. There's one, seven, county that opens. You ever seen it? Which one? I got a bunch of boxes.
Yeah, we got a copy.
Yep. Hot dog from Sweet Corn. Yep. Probably from the draw. They didn't get it from me. They were a lot longer years than mine.
Right.
This is good flavor. Sure, you're good flavor.
Yeah.
I made the flavor. It's short.
Dry weather.
Dave Linder text message too.
Some of the later corn, here's a little bigger, you know, I got some rain there and it's dry. Yeah.
Right. Well, they're just trying to figure out this big old hole right now.
Yeah, but I understand that. I understand he has his priorities. We should.
I was trying to show you pictures of it, but they don't have any. It's called the Blueberry Tree House.
Not much. No,
It's in West Falls, okay.
Maybe anyone had gambling.
No. Yeah, you go all.
They
through
kind of
the
tried
trees.
it.
Did you go through?
I haven't tried it.
No, the executive, is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. See, look at that, out there in the trees. So, yeah, I went to it. It was fun.
That's, we have a new,
I would have liked to.
new head chef.
We were on vacation.
Texas A&M. See how that
That
goes.
was good.
Nice night out, just to go.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I really.
He said, "You like it there?" I said, "No."
Me either.
He said,
You know, you walk in.
That's still,
Well,
I don't know where
Set her feet up on the machine.
Yeah.
Everything out of her mouth.
Yeah, and you see that.
Playing it with her foot.
We'll see.
You know?
I'll show you.
She's got like 3 of them covered.
Yeah.
Don't even come near
Don't
her.
come near. No. You got it.
Last I heard, he had taken his whole family there, his daughters.
They started off with,
And the in-laws.
the money they gave us to bet on the horse.
Then,
Yeah.
And that's all.
I
it's
heard
gonna
the in-laws moved back, the daughter moved back, everybody
be.
moved back.
That was.
He didn't, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He opened 2 Made in America stores here. Those closed up.
I don't know, I won. I don't know.
No.
$2 off of that. And then the-
He opened 2 of them up, but I heard there's somebody on this.
You know, that when you come back, you've got it for us to talk.
Made enough to get gas and do groceries on the way home.
Got a lot of oil here. And I just, I think you meant 2023 COLA. But as you look through here, there's a, like when you see an hourly amount, their salary, they're hourly, which changes that slightly. When you look it up, because I double checked all these through the
It was really
pay
nice.
schedules and. pay
Sure, I'll do that again.
I
I'm
took
sure I'll
down
do it again.
all of the differences and corrected them.
So
And then
this year, which this amount,
You made me mad, you scheduled on vacation.
if it shows like this, so he's got.
I'm mad. All your fault. Now you want to keep asking.
That's what she's estimate 42,802, and that's what the salary schedule, so I checked salary schedule and ACS on all, well, on the ones that showed
I
discrepancy.
just want to keep rubbing it in.
Where's the picture gonna be? Where's the picture gonna be, like the one they put to us?
Where would we see that?
$23 an hour, that's not 41,802.
Will they see it like on the OTB website or what?
Interview was $300
For the
off.
picture?
46,617,
Yeah.
46,917, they both are,
Oh,
Both of them the same.
yeah.
I mean, I was in the back, I'm always in the back. You're tall, you're in the back.
Had 1861, wait, and I didn't check that. First, it's not, a salary, they're an hourly. And
Plus paid a little bit of my own money too,
you need to know the difference.
like $15.
The Democrat makes this much, and the
That's
Republican
right,
makes
it's like
that.
that, the night out.
Salary schedule.
Night job.
I understand that, but you have them both at that dollar amount.
I've been there for a few of their concerts.
So he's both.
It's pretty cheap.
That,
we didn't change.
Concert $15.
Where are you gonna shoot that?
Right.
but still. Jim Bragg at 60,000.
Oh, really?
Jim's not at 60, he's at 61,
Yeah, I think they're about done for this year.
And Bill Sykes is not at 97,500, he's at 96.
Tomorrow night?
Bob Seger tribute, which they have done this.
Yeah.
There's another one next week. Those are inside.
Well, I can't go this
And then I
my
noticed.
birthday tomorrow.
Your birthday tomorrow?
Birthday tomorrow. Thank you.
Full pages back.
What are you expecting?
They're getting 59,000.
I'm glad Iris.
39.
The interest.
Yeah, right.
She is not, she's 35.
The COLA.
Tomorrow.
Quick.
Yeah. Go to Glen Iris.
Right here.
Gregory.
He
Oh,
had her here, and then he said yes.
She's not old
But I
enough.
had this total in And the market was 1925, and the COLA was the difference.
And sit out on
But she would be- And I put a lot of time into the salary, but she's working a lot more. But her position, the top end, and this is top end.
After you drink it.
And that's-
Yes, you are.
I don't want a ticket.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't want a litter ticket.
That's right.
By JP for that.
Hey, Brian,
My spreadsheet, I don't know where you put it.
I did ask Dave.
This shows you
Next Friday night is,
all the yellow
art
sections.
council.
This shows where the comp.
So if you're on the board,
Salary, what the market adjustment is gonna be.
I said, I'm on the board,
It
right?
says, yes.
I said,
COLA.
how did you decide?
See, there's a slight difference between this amount and this amount. That's with the COLA increase.
I
So
can't follow it.
this difference, the market adjustment, that would be the difference currently making and what the comp committee approved. And then this is in addition to that.
Yeah.
Flip it over. And I'm back here too, but I'm going a little bit.
A really nice exhibit out right now, it's,
You don't,
Earth and Clay or something.
yeah, but next week, well, everything is yellow.
Yeah, this one's better. Yeah.
Is that, those are your notes?
Those are what I did it before you joined the committee.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, ooh, results of the committee, I'd like to, but that was what you were hoping for. Yeah.
Some of them. Yeah, I did it.
So Ellen said that she asked Dan to send down the narratives for everybody, so that if you question on. And I told her, let's try to do it next week, so that, you know, we've got something to show the compensation committee as far as like Barberman's versus my arrest and the collections that were made. Because they should be right, you guys should know exactly what's going on, we're shoes and hand grenades. And then when we come time to amending the salary schedule, I shouldn't be questioning what I'm doing.
That's right.
Like we did. So I'm trying to avoid that.
Wherever, but they will stop running the class. Because we lose. We lose these volunteers. You're gonna have. Two away. Jalen.
Yeah.
He will drop. 75,000.
He wants to get back into the state. So.
Out of 50. And just, you know, we piss a lot of money away training volunteers. I'm not pissing, we should be spending a bunch of money. Training, you know, he didn't. He better service.
Yeah, I know how to start, yeah.
I see, you don't have to worry about this, but.
I told Lionel, I said, comes to work every day.
Oh, yeah.
He's reliable.
That's what.
You gotta have it up, I'm gonna-
Of course, of course. One problem, we're ready to go. To get those two MTs trained, you know, 3 months now, we're talking, let's check the roads in the morning. Man, you're talking to me.
So, I was asking about
Yeah.
So they're not.
So you got that's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks of being service. I know, so I did the training for 3, you know, for 3 days. Spend that money. Get someone else. Yeah, so I say, push the classes, make the classes as convenient as possible. Those nice,
Yeah.
volunteers.
We don't. We're ready whenever you are, it's still getting. We're ready whenever you are.
Such a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Today to talk about a matter that obviously is current and very relevant to many of our residents of county and towns, and that is the passage of the Carry Casino Improvement Act. Went into effect as of midnight this morning, September 1st. There are a couple court cases that are pending. One last night we got word on that was in the U.S. Northern District Court, and the actual case brought by the Gun Owners of America was dismissed, as well as the preliminary injunction that they had asked for was also denied. So we were hoping for a good outcome there, but it obviously did not happen. So we'll have to see where that one goes. But I just would like to, and maybe you guys are well aware of all these facts, but just kind of brush on some of the changes that this new law has brought to our communities and to communities all across the state. There's a lot of vagueness and confusion, and more confusion piled on top of that. It was all marinated in uncertainty. No one really knew, because of the way the law was written, exactly what the outcome would be. But in recent times, in the last week or so, we have received some clarification. I'm sure you guys, as the county, have as well, from the Division of Criminal Justice Services and the State Police, in addition to that. So just some of the new requirements, just for the process of applying for a pistol permit. Now, I will say that in addition to being associated with the Federation, I've also done pistol permit training by the county for the last 8 years, since June 2014. And just to crunch the numbers really quick before I left, there's been an average over those 8 years of 30 people a month going through the process, applying for, and in most cases, receiving their pistol permits here. So it affects, a pretty good bunch of people, 360 people a year. Here are some of the new things that new applicants will have to go through. Number one, proof of completion of the firearms training certificate. So yesterday, the standard across the state was, we heard some talk about there being a 4-hour standard class. That's really not completely true, because there are some counties that didn't have any training standard. The one most close to us, I guess, would be Monroe County. No training required to apply for a pistol permit previous to today. But everyone now under this new state law will have to have 16-hour class, a classroom type class for firearms training. They lay down all the bullet points, what needs to be covered in the class. And to be honest with you, as I'm reading down through the bullet points of the new outline that the state police provided, all those things were covered in the current 3-hour class that I've been doing for 8 years. So someone asked me, they said, are you preparing your outline for the new format of 16 hours? I'm like, I've already got it done. I'm going to do the same very effective and comprehensive class that I've been doing for the last 8 years. It took 3 hours. And I'm just going to leave 13 hours for questions and answers at the end. Obviously, that's not what the state police are looking for. There's also requirements for 2 hours of live firearm training, range training. So what does this mean for our residents? Well, right on the top, on the surface,
what once was a $40 class, that's what the county set as the rate through the judge and the pistol permit committee early on in 2014. It was $40. If you had another person in your household taking the class the same day, it was only an additional 20. So between the two, $60, and so on. And the rates went down from there. Matter of fact, if someone was coming to Wyoming County looking to transfer in, their fee, they'd already had a training class of some type, was only $5. So as of today, if you can find this new 16-hour class, because it really isn't clear who's going to be conducting them, where they're going to be, how you sign up for one, those fees are estimated to be anywhere between $400 and $500 for the new class. Now, keep in mind, when you sign up for a class and you take this training, that is no guarantee that a pistol permit will be issued. You still have to go through the whole process, background checks, all that stuff. So someone just to apply, just to dare to approach the state of New York for the privilege to exercise a Second Amendment right, is going to have to pay that $400 or $500 just up front. As far as the instructors, it looks like anyways, anyone who was authorized under the old system would be an authorized instructor under the new system too. So we'll have to see who jumps in and who's going to do that. That time will tell. But there's going to be a big demand, obviously. But maybe the new class will be returned for some, and a roadblock that some are not willing to overcome, which is another really tragedy. Also, you have to list your former and current social media accounts for the last 2 years. So any social media that you engage in, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever it may be, those accounts have to be submitted to the state as part of your application process. So now, what are they looking for? Obviously, they're looking for danger signs. You know, is this person a danger to themselves or others? Do they have really strong anti-government type feelings or sentiments? But who exactly is assessing them, and what is the criteria for approval or not of the pistol permit applicant? You also have to disclose your domestic partner situation. So your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, those have to be disclosed on your application as well. In addition to any children living in the home, this is all new with this new law as of today. Also new, and this is much to the dismay of our local judge, Judge Moment, our licensing authority. There is now a sit-down, face-to-face interview with the applicants. So let's just assume that we keep up that same pace of roughly 30 people per day going through the process. That means 30 people per month, excuse me. That means 30 people a month will have to sit in front of the judge. He said to me, candidates, and how will I ever find the time to do this? What am I exactly asking? You know, another thing that really did not sit well with the judge was the fact that if they go through the process, everything comes up clean, sheriff's department does their background checks, everything's good there. They make their recommendation to the judge acts on that and approves the pistol permit. There is still some scrutiny on the state's level. If he disallows the permit because of something that came up in the history, and there are concerns there with regards to past, incidents with the police, whatever it may be, domestic violence or border protection, if the judge denies, that applicant can appeal to the state. So now you have the state executive branch looking at the decision-making process of a judge, which is really, it's a scary thing and kind of is reversing the whole checks and balance system that we have. There's other provisions, I'm just going to touch on the highlights. Another thing is, since the SAFE Act in 2013, as of 2018, everyone had to recertify their permit if they had a pistol permit before that date. And that simply means it's a fairly simple process. This is my name, this is my address, these are still guns I have. I have not been convicted of any major crime or felony since the last date, and your recertification goes through. That's been changed from 5 years down to 3 years now for everyone going forward. The new training course, there was a lot of controversy and uncertainty who was going to have to take the course. Originally, it was said by many legal minds trying to sort through it that everyone would have to take it, including current pistol permit holders. We have since received clarification. In fact, that statement was just made on WBEN by a guy who really should know better. He's connected to this stuff. That we have 13,000 roughly pistol permit holders in Wyoming County, that all of those would have to go through this class at some point before they get certified. That is not the case. So that is one bit of the good news, I guess.
When you get the recertification, they notify you when yours is up?
Typically not. It's in the law, it calls for that to happen, but
I got a call yesterday, my neighbor called me, said, he's ready to recertify you. So I went on last night and I done it in January, so I'm good till 27, he said.
Oh, okay.
I called my son and I sent him, and they told him he could not recertify till 23.
Yes, it depends. You could recertify early, but not too early. So in other words, if you were within a year of your recertification due date, they would allow you to recert. And a lot of people did that, me included, so that I would get the 5-year term as opposed to the 3-year term. Going forward.
So I'm gonna put a sticky note someplace, I gotta recertify.
That's exactly what I've done, is a removal sticky note right on my permit with the date, because there's a chance, the council and law are supposed to notify you, but we know for a fact that that does not happen in every case, so you want to be careful. And if you fail to recertify, the consequences of that are very clear in the law. They could not only pull your business permit, but all firearms associated with that individual could go away. Now, I know there's plenty of people who fail to certify just because they didn't hear about it or weren't aware. And I've not heard one case where the state has actually prosecuted that, but it's there. It's in the black and white of the law. So at any time they could haul that out. What's interesting too is that in many ways we are divided across the state and the counties, and there's different rules for different jurisdictions. For most of upstate, I'm talking about the rules that we're going to be under. But for Westchester, Suffolk, and the counties within New York City, they have a whole different set of protocol. And actually, those current business permit holders there will be required to take a 60-hour class. Even if they had their permit since 1950, or it doesn't matter, they're going to be required to take that class. Active and retired law enforcement and former military exempt from having to take the course. This has always come up in the current class, but I'll get people here that are retired from law enforcement. In other words, getting off their badge, the guns they have on their badge, it's not going to do them good anymore. And they're somewhat dismayed and not too happy about the fact that they have to take the class because they've been long-term, same with military. And that was a call of the judge here, and I get it. It's basically to keep everyone on the same page. Everyone's getting consistent training. And what was nice about the training program that the county has used for the last 8 years, despite many complaints that it was that I was somehow related to the judge or whatever it was. But by it only being one class for all county residents required, there was a county resident doing it, and the instruction was consistent. Also, the communication lines were phenomenal. So like we went through the pandemic, and there was big changes there on how things were processed here and how I had to conduct the class. That's just a matter of an email, phone call, everybody's on the same page. So that's what really made it nice. But there are some classes, and I'll guarantee you that a lot of these will file some type of legal action. There are currently classes, if you go online and Google New York State physical permit class, all kinds of stuff will come up, including online ones where you never have to leave your home. Out of curiosity, I think it was about 2 years ago, I took one of those classes just because I wanted to know if anybody ever asked me what they're about, so I could speak intelligently about it. And if the one I took was a New York Safety First or something like that, it was garbage. I've never been so embarrassed to, whoever put that out and charged what they did for that class, it was an absolute embarrassment. And I think that's another reason why the judge kind of kept it close to the vest, so they had control of exactly what was going on. Okay, so where are the places under the new law where I cannot bring a firearm, rifle, or shotgun? So effective today, these are the new locations. I won't go through them all, but some that may have changed as of today. Any location owned or under control of federal, state, or local government for the purpose of government administration, including the courts. So that would mean any county building, essentially. And I know in the past we've had these discussions, and there were people on the board of supervisors that openly admitted that they did carry when they came to work or whatever. So under the new restrictions, that will be prohibited even for those individuals. Places of worship or religious observations. Now, you may be surprised to know this or learn this, but in the times we're in, where an evil can strike at any time, any place, a lot of churches have decided to implement security teams, basically, members of their parish that are trained, legally can handle concealed firearms, to knowingly participate in the service in that way. Just kind of in the background, carry concealed, but that would be a prohibited act under this, even in our own places of worship. Libraries, public playgrounds, parks, zoos, etc., public transportation, transit facilities, bars and restaurants serving alcohol. So that's new to this new law. Previous to this, it probably wasn't the best idea to go someplace that was serving alcohol, carry concealed, especially if you're participating in the alcohol consumption. But now it is part of the actual law. Also, theaters, stadiums, racetracks, museums. It essentially has made New York State in its entirety a gun-free zone, because that's not the most, the places that they define is not the most egregious part of that. Here's another one: public sidewalks or other public areas that are restricted from general public access for a limited time for a special event. So if you had, yard sales, garage sales, sidewalk sales here in the village of Warsaw, that could be restricted to use. Also, gatherings of people collectively there to express their constitutional rights to assemble and protest. That would be sensitive or prohibited area. The one that really kind of is, I think, one of the most easily challengeable, and we'll have to see where this goes, is the fact that Governor Shader herself, that now as a carry concealed permit holder that's been through the entire process, chose to carry a personal protection firearm for their own protection or protection of their family and friends. You now have to presume that every place that you go that is privately owned or owned by a business is a gun-free zone. So if you go to Tractor Supply after work today, I have to presume as a New York State resident, even though I have a carry concealed permit, that is a gun-free zone. To violate that and get caught, something was to happen, something was revealed, or there was an incident there where I had to defend my life, I would be subject to felony charges because there's not a sign on the door that prohibitively expressly says they allow that. Every business is going to be required to post that if they want to allow that. Now you just think about, I'll stick with Tractor Supply. It's obviously, it's a franchise type thing. It's not a decision a local manager can make. You think the liability people from Tractor Supply Inc. Incorporated are going to allow her to put that sign up there. But we have, as citizens, assume I can't go in there. What makes matters worse, so if I'm carrying that particular day, going about my daily activities, as I did on August 31st, I realize I can't go in there now because I don't have a sign saying I can. I need to secure that thing in my vehicle. And I've talked to the sheriff multiple times about this. I'll guarantee you, I will bet my life on it, that if I'm carrying a personal protection firearm, it is safer on me, my care and control, than ever would be secured in a vehicle at a time. And there are new requirements on how you have to secure them in a vehicle in a fire-resistant, tamper-resistant case that is out of view. So in order to do all that, if I have to unconceal it from where I'm carrying it in a concealed position, put it in that case, I'm obviously potentially exposing myself to the view of others. And maybe not everyone, maybe someone just, oh yeah, guys got a gun, making the call. So I can imagine the problems that that's going to bring about. All right. Okay, I already talked about transportation vehicles. So that is kind of the sum, the high points that I want to hit on the law itself. We also have, I think, the minimum standards for the new class going forward. What we have seen is, in addition to numerous court cases being, entered into, is a bunch of the counties around the state have made resolutions in opposition, similar to what Wyoming County did a couple of times now. Once in the SAFE Act, most notably, and since then as well. And some of these, I give you the examples. I can read them and share. Madison County is the one I have. Seneca County was copied on your minutes. There was another one, Green County. So they're pretty good examples of one step that we can take as a county government to express our deep concern. And here's the problem with all of this type of legislation, as Cheryl spoke about in the meeting yesterday. A lot of stuff is rushed through. It doesn't have the proper procedure and process, the 3-day maturation, so everybody get their eyes on it. The public has a chance to see it, pay attention. All this stuff is bypassed, it's rushed through, signed by the governor. And then they kind of walk away. They say to the state police, to the DEC, to the county governments, okay, we just created this very square peg. We'd like you to put it in a round hole and make it work. And the clerk's office here will tell you, if you talk to those people, the judge's office, the sheriff's office will tell you, this happens time and time again, not just with disciplinary concerns, but across the board. And these resolutions, as well as they are, as good as they are to voice our concerns, and certainly well written, they are essentially amount to a strongly worded letter that the governor just goes through. So I think before some of this stuff I have to explain that we're here. I see in the minutes it said Wyoming County Wildlife Federation. A lot of this is coming as Brian across a private citizen, so I'm not reflecting necessarily the opinions of the Federation because things have happened so fast. We really haven't discussed it. We've got a meeting coming up later this month, but the time has come where we need to look for other solutions, other pathways that we can really affect. We have to understand that you guys are put in these seats, in these positions of power and authority, and justly so, by the citizens and residents of your townships. And you represent them, you serve that public. You don't serve necessarily the whims of New York City and the governor and everything else. And to hear, and I did it because I use this term myself too. In this context, actually, as a pistol class, my hands are tied. And I get it, I understand that. But also, if you think about it, our hands are tied really because we've handed the rope to our oppressor, put our wrists together, and assumed a very submissive position, and said, now look at that, my hands are tied. There has to be some time, whether it's through our associations, clerks associations, sheriff association, judges association, or the supervisors association, that we need to really start to make our voices heard, not only heard, but recognized by New York State. This is just, in my mind, again, not the words of the Federation, but just so over the top egregious. And if we have to go through the courts all the time, try to the courts to gain access to fundamental rights, then the system is really broken. And I guess that's, if anyone has any questions, and you are again getting my maybe skewed view on it, and I'm not trying to still know, because the pistol permit training program really, to me, is the least egregious part of this whole law. It's not like, well, I'm mad because I won't do a pistol class anymore. I've enjoyed that time, that 8 years. I really enjoyed seeing the people, talking to people, educating the people. I enjoyed every part of it. That's not, I'm upset it's not going to continue, but it's not really, that's the least egregious portion of this whole thing. So I guess.
Brian, I have 2 questions. First question is, this all came about because of a Supreme Court decision, am I correct?
And almost anyone you talk to will state right out the back, it was a petulant response to a Supreme Court ruling that they simply did not like. They came out within days of that. She not emergency session. What was it? Not necessarily necessity. Extraordinary session going on, got everybody in there, and the thing was off and running in a matter of no time at all. The fact of the matter is, if they cared about the data, that the people who go through this process, including the residents of Wyoming County, are probably one of the most lawful residents that we have. They're simply not out there creating crime. They're not out there doing these violent acts because they understand the importance, the legality, the responsibility that comes along with private gun ownership. And to attack this group is just outrageous. And in my mind, it's just simply political. You know, the members coming out, she's trying to position herself in whatever position she wants to be in, and at the expense of freedoms and liberties. The thing that scares me the most is if we do nothing other than the resolution, is that the new benchmark has been set, the new watermark is there, and that becomes the new normal for the next generation. In our lifetimes, in our short lifetimes, we have seen the loss of freedoms and liberties, and those aren't coming back very easily. We've all slipped away very easily. A stroke of a pen, at midnight or whatever in Albany, they go away, and to have to regain them is virtually impossible. I also understand the thought process from the law enforcement standpoint. I sympathize with them. I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement because they really are the face that has to implement this, what I consider garbage. And they are obligated to enforce the law. I understand that. But doesn't the New York State government also have an obligation to uphold the law and enforce the laws? In this case, the ruling of the Supreme Court, they're just bypassed. They came out and said, well, we did this legislation so that we could comply with the recent Supreme Court ruling. It wasn't a compliance, it was to get around it. So we shall see what the court's taken. I'm still hopeful.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of court cases.
Yeah.
Second of all, how can they expect someone to take this live firearms training if they don't have a pistol permit to carry that pistol? How is that going to work? Is someone going to provide those notes to these people to do that?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Under the law, the old law, I mean, yesterday, it would be prohibited for them to demand if they had reached the age of 21. So over 21, they can't. So they made a provision change in the law to accommodate this, that they could do it. But you're absolutely right. Who's going to? If I get a human guns instructors and the liability that goes along with that, I mean, it's really.
I don't think anybody can stop that one.
Yeah. It's unworkable in so many different levels, but I really don't think anybody cares. And again, I say, they passed the law, they get in front of the camera and say, what a great thing I've just done for public safety. You guys deal with the mess that we created. They really just walking away. So,
I just want to interject a couple of things, there I'm directly related to pistol permits, okay? And now under the new law, you're gonna have to go through a background check every time you buy ammunition, right? So they don't even know how they're gonna implement that, okay? But if you wanna walk into Wally World down here and buy a box of 22 shells, you're gonna have to go through a background check. And then you're gonna put down what you bought, how many rounds you bought, okay, what caliber. So that's a whole new thing that you're gonna have to go through. Also, if you're going to buy a semi-automatic rifle, any type, you're gonna have to go through same pistol permit process if you would, only for buying that rifle, okay? So you're gonna have to, and you're also gonna have to go through that training. Now, it's not clear to me, Brian, if you went through the 16 hours for a pistol, then you what, semi-automatic, you have to go through another 16?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
So yeah, that's all.
so that might be, again, as Brian said, it's also very confusing the way it's written. I don't know if any of you looked at the bill, it's 20 pages long. And much of it refers to other sections of existing law, so you gotta keep referring back. It's an onerous process. And also, it sounds like, right now, if you go to a firearms dealer to buy any kind of firearm, they can do the online next check with the federal government right away. This sounds like it's gotta go through the state police. And they're gonna do it, so everything's gonna be bogged down, and it's gonna be more difficult.
Yes. One other point on the whole recertification process, in addition to the change from 5 years to 3 years, you said that you went through the process early as I did, so I could get the 5-year renewal. I was very interested, but not shocked to learn that when I last did it in 2018, I had all my pistols on my pistol permit were entered into the database, and I filed that. It was accepted, received, so everything jived. State's database and my pistol permit here at the county, they both coincided perfectly. When I went to redo it now, you punch in your information and it self-populates. All that information from 2018 is on there. What had happened in my case in those preceding years was my older brother passed away in November of 2020. There was a lot of guns co-owned with my brother and I. So when he passed away, his wife and my sister-in-law decided to sell some of those guns, which he did. We went through the proper process to get them off of our permits because they're no longer in our care and control. So those permits that were removed through the county through the regular legal process and reflected properly on my permit never transferred over to the state database. They still showed up on there. So what it required me to do was to go in there and say, this gun's removed, this gun's removed, and just check them, and they flew away like nothing ever happened. So what I'm saying is there's no correlation or communication between the county permitting process and the state database, and allowed me as a private citizen to go in and to essentially edit the state database and take those guns off. Same thing as if I had purchased a gun in that time frame, it would not have been in the state database until it was recertified. So I had to go and add that gun myself. It's just crazy that, and kind of the incompetence of anything when you get to the state level, that this new database that they created expressly to have a clean record, everybody's on the same page and a clean database, it's not even, it can't even last the test of 5 years. It's just not.
So how many counties have passed the resolution?
To my knowledge, there was just those 3 that I could find really quick on search. I apologize, I just did it today.
Brian, I probably have a bunch through my state distribution list.
Okay.
But Seneca County was the only one that I grabbed.
Okay, yeah.
But I would, if those are your comments, like your bullet points, I would gladly attach them to the minutes.
Oh, okay, yes, I can, actually, what I did was just take the outline from the Department of Criminal Justice Services and then I just made a commentary, so.
Do you want to email me something? Do you want to email something?
Oh, I can. Yeah, and I think a lot of these, I haven't read through every one thoroughly, Edison and Green and Seneca, but they are very similar. I guess some are just, I think in my opinion, it was a little more strongly worded, maybe more appropriate, but we can probably lift off the highlights, I think, whatever it is. And
I think we need a pretty good resolution to go before the whole board to make a decision. Everybody thinks that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask Brian to help me with, like, we'll take the best of the pieces that we got and make a good one, if everybody wants to pass a resolution.
And here's one of the evil parts of this whole thing as well. We have many law-abiding, productive citizens in this county. And when the laws keep shifting, I as a person have not changed from yesterday, what I do, how I approach life. My moral compass has not changed yet through that, but the laws are kind of coming to get me. So you hear the phrase that this particular person was radicalized by, by video games or by, these websites that it goes to, was radicalized. I almost feel in a way that I'm becoming radicalized by my own state government because they are just encroaching on law for me. It's really, it's criminal, it's evil. And I tell people just remember in November, and that's the best we can do. But it's easy to say here in Miami County. I mean, our history is pretty clear on where we stand on the Second Amendment in the Constitution, but it's not so easy in other parts of the state. So we've got an uphill battle, I get it, but I think we owe it to our posterity going forward to do whatever we can. From time to time, I've been in these chambers, and we come here for the meetings, and there's a veteran here, male or female, or we hear a story of their life, their accomplishments, and their service to our country. We give them some type of accommodation. It's awesome. It's just it gives you that good feeling. But then, when we allow the states to do things such as they are doing now, it almost in a way, inadvertently discredits that sacrifice and that service to those great men and women who fought, for everything, for our country's area. So that's it. I'm gonna get down with the soapbox. I do apologize because I do get kind of passionate about it, but it's a very important.
Not to diminish it in any way. I just sit here and say, join the crowd because everything we see, not everything, but we see it all the time here. Another example of them doing, shady or crappy things is questionable. 2 years.
Questionable things.
Questionable things. 2 years, they called the nurses down here at the hospital, the doctors and the staff down there, heroes for putting up with COVID. Then they make them get a vaccination, and if you don't get it, they fired it. And we had to abide by that. That's a perfect example of what the state does without even thinking about it.
Now it turns out the vaccine doesn't work anyway.
And what about the lives?
Main guy, Dr. Fauci has.
Still need it.
The lives destroyed in the meantime, the careers destroyed in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean,
No accountability.
and that's a big part of what we're going through with the hospital is the costs we're paying for the agency nursing, and it's all off our tax dollar.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, and these are real problems, and I think we need to look for real solutions. We can't just say there's nothing we can do because we are passing this on to the next generation, and it's unbelievable.
Absolutely, and the state just continues to do it. The whole green energy thing.
Right.
There's no infrastructure for everybody to have a car, but it's in the legislature right now. By 2035, just like California just passed. By 2035, they don't want gas-powered cars sold in New York State either. And they're gonna push it downstate. And we're gonna have to accept it.
Yeah.
See on the news this morning, there's heat wave in California, and they've asked people not to charge their cars.
Yeah.
Not to charge their cars. But they all gotta have electric.
Yeah.
Really? It's just the beginning.
Thinking more people get them.
Wow.
Here's
another thing, these people,
Well, that's it.
these people that are committing these crimes, these shootings, are mentally ill. You know this, Melissa, I do. And a mentally ill person is probably going to do it no matter what. They're going to find a way to get that doctor or the.
They don't care about the
AR-15. They don't care about anything else. It's in their head, that's what they're gonna do. And that is one of the biggest problems.
To them, all this law is just another line on their rap sheet. There's no consideration for that whatsoever. And we can tell that because who's here before you is concerned lawful citizens, not gangbangers, terrorists, and crazy people. They don't care.
Well, they got all of these people.
So there's no other questions. I just want to thank you once again.
Thank you for coming in.
I will say this, every time we've had the opportunity to come before you guys, you've always been treated so graciously and great courtesy, and I really appreciate that. It's a great example of how good government really should work. We can't expect you to agree with us every time, but at least we feel we have that ear, and maybe we can, come to some type of meeting of mind, maybe a perspective that you might not have otherwise payments.
So, like I said, you know, work with Cheryl on, you know, the different resolutions that are out there, so we can make one good resolution. And maybe do that, it'll be up to the whole board.
Very good, thanks.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, would like to make that motion.
What was the motion?
Supervisor Berlayer makes the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
I find that we should be.
Yes.
Pick your words.
Yes.
This way. Just we don't have money right now.
Are we adjourned? Yes, we are adjourned.